Welcome to Small Insight, Big Impact. I am Dr. Tsetse, and today we will be soaring into one of nature's most remarkable adventures. I guess you'll be thinking it's the eagle, right? No, it's not the eagle. It's the Rüppell's vulture. The Rüppell's vulture doesn't fly. It transcends limits, rises above, and thrives where many birds cannot. What can we learn from this creature? It climbs up to 37,000 feet above sea level. Matter of fact, it's the only bird that has been recorded in history to rise above to 37,000 feet in Africa, actually in Ivory Coast, into an aircraft. The vulture lives in the open savanna and glides on thermal updrifts, covering huge distances in search of food. It is not a fast bird. It flies slowly and it cannot fly for too long, but it's able to soar up. Its body is adapted to high altitude, so it's able to survive in thin air that other birds cannot. It doesn't kill, but it performs a very important role. It scavenges and cleans the ecosystem, our ecosystem, matter of fact. So the vulture teaches us three things. It teaches us altitude, endurance, and purpose in 4 ways. So now, the 4 ways, I'll try to unpack the 4 ways. The first lesson is to elevate our perspective. You know, the vulture reaches altitudes where air is thin, where most creatures cannot even venture to fly up to that height. And from there, everything looks different. The vulture sees patterns, shadows, opportunities, and threats, and all become clear to the vulture. So as leaders and individuals, we often get setbacks at ground level thinking. We push tasks, solve problems, and react to ground level or office level situations. But what if we climb higher? Higher in terms of our mental ability and also our emotional abilities, as well as our strategic abilities. What if we soar above our daily noise and look at what matters at work, our relationships, and our mission? Well, elevating perspective means stepping back from the details and seeing the system. It means asking questions like, what will matter in the future? What will really matter in 10 or 5 years? What's the real elevation that I'm flying at? It means avoiding the busy daily traps and instead seeking clarity and purpose. So how can we apply this in our learning? Well, what you need to do is to block time each week for reflection regarding the altitude at which you're flying. Are you flying at 30 feet above sea level or 37 feet above sea level or 10,000? Literally, that means your goal. So you need to reflect on your goal. That's a very important thing. So this helps us to lead our day-to-day activities, but at the same time, look into the vision and mission of what we are doing with clear directions. The second learning from the vulture is to adapt and thrive in challenging situations. At 37,000 feet, oxygen is scarce, but then the vulture is able to survive. And what it does, it sort of keeps its focus, changes depending upon the situation to be able to move through the thin air. In our lives, tenure could mean crisis, transition, change, or pressure. And these are moments that we all flutter. These are moments that everybody goes through each and every day. But then the vulture reminds us that adaptation matters more than comfort. So we should adapt a resilient mindset and change to new conditions as and when they arise. So remember, it's mainly about building systems that will help you adapt to the changes that you face at work and in the environment around you. It's important to recognize that what carries you at sea level or what brought you to where you are will not take you to higher level or to a different level at work. So how do you apply this in your daily life? Well, it's important to have a system or cultivate a habit of developing a system for your work, for the skills that you have, the relationships that you have, the processes that will be able to sustain you under pressure or when you face crisis or transition. I would suggest you build what I call the high altitude kit, and these are things that you yourself know that will help you in situations of crisis or pressure. These could be habit changes, developing new networks, using certain tools to be able to develop yourself so that you'll be able to go to the conditions that you're facing and rise above that to a higher altitude. It's also important to practice small altitude jumps. Matter of fact, those jumps are preparing you for a higher jump or a higher responsibility. And this means working at different tasks, working with different people, working on unfamiliar projects so that you'll be able to develop altitude tolerance. So whatever you find yourself, be it at 37,000 feet, 25,000 feet, you'll be able to perform at your peak and at your best. The third lesson that the vulture teaches us is to define our purpose in whatever role we find ourselves. Vultures are often seen as grim, but they fulfill an essential role by cleaning up and preventing diseases within our ecosystem. Vultures perform unique role that other birds cannot do. So in leadership, sometimes the undervalued contributions or roles ends up to have the greatest impact. So we should take time to celebrate those roles and recognize them as part of the team. We should always remember that it is not about the title, or the title doesn't matter. It's more or less the purpose behind the role. So what you need to do is to embrace your work, whatever matters, and don't be too much carried away by your title or the role you play. And remember, even if you are not seen in what you do, your contribution matters. So it's important to recognize that your role is part of a larger ecosystem and your contributions support others. Remember, purpose adds meaning, and meaning turns work into legacy eventually. So what you need to do is to mainly ask questions that will help you to be able to define a clear purpose for what you do. Questions like, what hidden role am I playing? And this will shift your language from just doing this to I am doing this that matters. It is important to also celebrate the invisible wins that team members achieve. Some of the team members that we work with do not require or don't like attention. We need to make time to recognize them, especially those who are quietly preventing failures or who are the cornerstones or the building blocks of the team, working tirelessly to support the mission and vision of the organization. The fourth lesson is to soar and not get burned out. Burnout is something that it's not the best for every person at work. The vulture doesn't flip its wing madly. It takes time to conserve energy. It uses thermal and air currents to glide. So, what does that teach us? In leadership, it is important for us to be efficient at what we do. In as much as we have to work hard, we have to be very strategic in terms of the choices and especially assigning roles with regards to who does what. So what do we have to do then is to focus on what leverage can we achieve in whatever situation we find ourselves. That should be the focus of what we do. And with that, we'll be able to identify what will give us the greatest impact by using the momentum in the team and not forcing them. With such an approach, you'll be able to build a lasting system that will support your flight to soar up to 37,000 feet. It's important to recognize that when you work hard and you work tirelessly, you will definitely soar. But then how far you soar or how high you go will depend on how you wisely use the energy that you have during each particular situation. So, depending upon the situation and where it is possible, what you need to do is to either delegate or streamline things that will help you get the best out of every situation rather than struggling to do everything yourself or trying to unleash all your energy at the same time. Lead your team by showing smart strategies and enabling sustainable performance so that they don't get burned out. So now pause for a moment and take a breath. Think about your altitude right now. Are you flying high enough to see the bigger picture? Are you adapting to thin air or you are suffocating under pressure? Are you fulfilling a role that matters or you are chasing status? Are you spinning your wings or you are riding the draft of a smart strategy? I would say let the vulture's flight remind you. Great altitude doesn't come from size. It comes from adaptation, clarity, and purpose. The vulture survives in extreme situations. It thrives. It carries no ego. It shows no slogan. Yet its presence cleans and sustains and elevates. In leadership, We don't always need to be the loudest or the most visible person. All we need to do is to have the highest clarity and perspective as well as purpose in our work. So today, elevate your view, adapt to change, find your unseen purpose, glide when you can, and push when you must. Thanks for joining me again on Small Insight, Big Impact. If this episode lifts your flight path today, share it with someone ready to soar. Remember, you need to fly higher, not faster. For more lessons from nature and leadership and life, follow or like this podcast. Until next time, keep soaring.